Like Google.
Hello, good evening to all. I'm Mohammed Tariq, and we are going to discuss certain part of modern Indian history. That's how this is going to help in your main examinations, and how this optional is going to make all the difference. Right? So, in the first 15 minutes, I will be talking about my own area of modern Indian history, which actually begins from mid of 18th century till mid of 20th century. So in terms of period, it is very small. But in terms of importance, it is the most important part because it is directly connected with what is happening in India. So all your administration, including your civil service, is directly linked with the British civil services. Our judicial system also we inherited from British period. Lot of our rights, which you have fundamental rights, you have lot of other institutions in education and parliament to judiciary to CAGs. These are all evolving during British period. This is why the study of British period is going to take you in contemporary India, and you can directly connect it. That is one part of this syllabus. But how this syllabus is going to be used for your main exam, that is one part. For your preliminary exams, this is another part. Then many of the topics which we are going to discuss would help in your essay. For instance, direct question they have asked on Gandhi's thought. One such question was, be the change what you want to be, what you want to see in others, right? This was Gandhi's statement. So when you study greats like Vivekanand, like Tagore, like Gandhi, like Ambedkar, like Nehru, these topics are going to be used in your optional as well as GS paper 1 and paper 4. It is also going to be used in essay, and in all interviews at least 4 5 minutes they do ask about great characters, about historical events. Partition of India is one such event which is impacting us till date, about caste, about gender, about environment, about tribes, about Dalit issues. You heard recent incident of UGC regulation on 13th of January. Now, from where this all emanated, from where this all originated, somewhere in modern India, you must have heard about Pune Pact, 1932. So reservation of India is one of the most controversial political debate in India. Am I right? And generally people are divided. You are this side of reservation or that side of reservation. If you get it, you are supporting it. If you don't, you are opposing. I remember in our college days, many of us opposed it because our groups did not get it. But history would teach you that how to keep personal biases away and how to be judicious as per the topic. So that is one of the greatest advantage of studying history in general, and in modern history particularly, because as I said, it is directly connected with the issues. And a good student of history, when they would write about reservation, their answer would be better than, as I said, non-history background, because here you would read the entire logic behind reservation, what happened between Gandhi and Ambedkar and others, how this was discussed in Constituent Assembly, and how it progressed after independence. So this is exactly what the point, that even in interview when you would talk, when you would discuss in essay, these topics which we are going to discuss would make you more enlightened, which make you more progressive person. For instance, why we should have uniform civil code. You heard it? It is given in Directive Principle Article 44, but it has yet to be implemented, though every government had promised
I remember Congress to BJP, Mamta to Samta to alliances that once we come to power, we will implement UCC. Am I right? Why not they have implemented? That, if you read in modern history, you would understand, and even in medieval and ancient history, that our society is highly patriarchal. And I personally call our society is dominated by Taus. You know Taus in Haryana, elder brother of your father is Tau. But in my dictionary, he is custodian of Parampara, Pratishtha, and Anushasan. Means he's not ready to give power to women. And our Indian society, be it a Muslim society or Hindu society, is highly patriarchal. UCC talks about Article 14 equal rights, Article 15 additional rights for women, Article 21 right to life, and Article 19 series of rights. These ideas emerged in modern India with the idea of liberty, equality, fraternity. Partly you would read in French and American Revolution, then you would read in Raja Ram Mohan Rai movement to Vivekanand movement. And during that period, this intellectual discourse was going on in a small section of Indians. So once you believe in individual liberty, you cannot believe in sati. Once you believe in individual liberty, you cannot believe in child marriage or widows not allowed to marry. Once you believe in idea of equality, then you cannot deprive your women to get inheritance from property. I hope you're getting. So in India, two things are going to clash in modern India in 19th century. One is our long tradition. Some traditions are good. A good number of traditions are not good. That also you have to accept it. For instance, one good tradition in India is family, the importance of family, unlike in the Western culture where the family is almost crumbling. You know that individualism has gone to a very different level where a son can complain to a police station in America, Canada. If father slapped, he would be arrested. You know that in India there is no such law, and I'm sure even if it becomes a law or it is going to be implemented, very unlikely. That is our family values. But there are certain very draconian family values also. What I call draconian means that here the women are almost as a second class citizen, though she also has the same Aadhaar card with 12 digits, but it is given by Constitution of India. But her husband is not given the same right. Her society has, in laws, has not given the same right. In India, our songs are also very biased. भला है बुरा है जैसा भी है मेरा पति मेरा देवता है. This song comes from a patriarchy mindset. And if you believe in certain feminist idea, then the girl would say, why shall boys have all the fun? Have you heard this ad in Scooty, or Bajaj Scooty? Now, these changes you would notice slowly in 19th and early 20th century. So there is a clash between Indian social traditional values and modern liberal scientific political ideas. And our leaders of freedom struggle were very modern, were very progressive of different degrees. Of course, all of them were not very progressive. There were some orthodox also, including Mahatma Gandhi. It is accused by some leftist historians, which we will discuss. But luckily, by and large, the makers of constitution were very liberal, progressive. And that's the reason why we got a very modern constitution. So our constitution is modern, our society is medieval. Anantamurthy, a very famous Kannada scholar, before pandemic he died, and I read it from the article of Ramchandra Guha, a very famous historian. And what he wrote, Anantamurthy and Ramchandra Guha just added that Indian men live together in two centuries, 11th century and 21st century. Are you getting it? Okay, I will explain. Indian men generally, with few exceptions, I am one of the exception. Okay, men would be after all men, right? There are some personal bias, but by and large, most Indian men, according to social scientists, is in a big dilemma. You understand the word dilemma? That you are following some of the norms and traditions of as old as medieval time, 11th 12th century, but you're living with the institutions, with the technology, with the lifestyle of 21st century. Like you are an IIT graduate, now you are looking for IAS, you would become SDM hopefully, IPS hopefully, IFS hopefully, but at the time of marriage you would ask dowry. Right or wrong? Majority Indians take dowry or not. And not only that, people when they marry, whether the girl is Manglik or non-Manglik. Am I right? Now, if we look at from pure science point of view, just because a person is born on a particular day and a time become inauspicious, what is the fault of that girl? Including as famous as Aishwarya Rai. Do you know that? That I heard it that she was Manglik. I didn't know much about it. After that story, I came to know. But what was surprising that this was practiced by a family which had produced Harivansh Rai Bachchan, such a progressive poet if you read his Madhushala. So Muslims in India, Hindus in India follow certain medieval practice. Like in the Muslims, you heard it, very ancient medieval, talaq, 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 marriage over, instant triple talaq. Supreme Court banned, then our parliament passed a law, and now it is illegal. I hope you know that. This is what 11th century and 21st century together. You have hundreds of such customs among Muslims and Hindus, even in Sikhs and others, which is outdated customs, which is irrational, unscientific, and you're claiming to be modern. That is how would you explain this paradox? Modern Indian history certainly would shed lights on all these issues because women is one important issue in freedom struggle period as well as social reform. Education is a big issue in India right now, am I right? And I was just watching one program yesterday that how modern education in India has become a big controversy. Government after government is struggling. NCRT textbook is becoming controversial. Supreme Court is angry. Are you getting? So right from Macaulay, 1835 till 2026, education policy in India is a matter of big public debate. We are divided on language, three language formula. What should be the language of our education in school days, college days, university days? Am I right? Education should be provided by state or by private or by both. This is another debate. Then the quality of education has been debated almost every time in India. What kind of education we had in medieval and ancient time that you would learn, and then in modern phase, how this modern education, what is modern in modern, why it is called modern. I hope that we will discuss in detail, which is both historically important for the syllabus as well as important for the contemporary India, because education, as I said, is going to be the next big thing in India along with health once the war stops in the Gulf, because a lot of such issues are going to be raised both by public as well as leaders and intellectuals. And you heard it, a lot of paper leaks, which is also an issue. So once you are reading freedom struggle and modern history in little detail about these issues, then many such contemporary issues you can connect it. Why people feel difficult to understand a newspaper or even a television debate? Because it is like they are watching Bahubali Part 2 without watching Bahubali Part 1. So if you do not know India till 47, how can you understand India post 47? So it is not separated and isolated. These are interconnected. So history actually establishes a very good link between past and present. One of the very famous statement about history. What is history? Is history is a continuous dialogue between past and present. So the issues which you face today, most issues are not new issues. Like Hindu Muslim right is common in many parts. But if you look at carefully, it is in 1850s also. But was it also a right, was also an issue in Akbar's period? Certainly not. So how these rights emerge in modern era? So most scholars believe that communal rights is a colonial constructs. It's a British period given. It was not in medieval and ancient time. So the clash in medieval and ancient time took place between rulers, not masses, which you saw in 40s and 50s and even in recent past in India. And that is the policy of divide and rule. That is how the institutions started playing role. Media started, because media was also not there in ancient time. So suppose some violence took place in a pocket, others would know after 2 years. But thanks to newspapers in British period, others would know next day. So it would, just like today, others would know next moment, next minute, what is happening. So how in modern time you would notice two very beautiful terms in Persian, Zama and Makam, time and space. So when you read history, keep this and this in your mind. Our space is Indian subcontinent, what is Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and little bit Nepal, etc. And the time, as I said, 18th century to 20th century. You always think in present tense, whereas history has to be understood as per the time in which the incident took place. So you cannot understand that event unless you go in that period and erase the later phase of history for some time. I hope you get my point. It is very difficult art which historians does. That is why it is said anybody can create history. Anybody can create history, but very few among them can write about it. You want to create history right now? Kill any famous person. Don't do. But you would create history, right or not? After all, Nathuram Godse created history only for one reason. What is that? He killed Mahatma Gandhi. That is why he is in history page. Otherwise, I don't think there is any other contribution of Nathuram Godse. At least I did not read, because of which he would have been in history page. History में उनका नाम सिर्फ इसलिए आता है because he had killed Mahatma Gandhi. Anybody can create history. He created, but very few among them can write about it. If I say right now you to write 200 words, why Nathuram killed Gandhi? 200 words. Condition, you have to get 5 out of 10 by any scholar in India. Can you write? Do you have that confidence? Please be honest. Yes or not? What you would write, Nathuram Godse killed Gandhi by a revolver, 3 bullets. Gandhi said, Hey Ram, and Kam Tamam. Beyond that, you can't write it. That how a man who never harmed any creature, I'm sure even an animal, how he was shot. Is it not shocking? For that, you have to understand India of 1920s, 30s, and 40s, the kind of politics which was evolving at that time, the kind of communal rights which was going on, the kind of Hindu politics, Muslim politics, the kind of caste politics that actually created a venom in the minds of some people. And once venom is in your mind, then guns would just do its own work. गन तो आपके पास मार्केट में बहुत है, बट आप क्यों नहीं चलाते हो? क्योंकि आपके पास अभी वो वेनम नहीं है, अभी वो इसराइल एंड ईरानियों के पास है. They have that venom, women, that is how they are using that venom into aggression. Luckily, we don't have much. We have some small section of Muslims and Hindus in subcontinent. That is how you also see that. So that small section of Indians who had this hatred towards each other based on religion, caste, region, language, that is how the violence. And Nathuram Godse, or person like him, was a reflection of that group of society. I hope you're getting my point. Gandhi stood for certain values: Hindu Muslim unity, national integrity, upper caste and lower caste patch up, gender equality. So, any Taus who would look Gandhi as enemy would think and try to plan and assassinate him. I hope you're getting now. So, any such person who is standing for certain ideals, changing the society, would be seen as enemy. I hope now if I ask you to write 200 words, at least 100 words you can write. But to write in full, you have to attend my full classes. So we'll conduct our classes, and the time and schedule would be announced shortly, and my other colleague would join shortly. And any of you have any kind of question, online or offline, after our another 30 minutes of schedule, we are welcoming your questions, and all three of us would reply on related to syllabus, related to certain myths which you may have about length and this and that, which we know is that. But all we can assure that all subjects are equal in UPSC, all are good. It is your interest which makes that subject successful or fail. But as far as UPSC's last 60-70 years record is concerned, students are getting scores and selection through all subjects. So it is a myth among the students. Many of our students from Vajiram and elsewhere from history have done very well, including rankers, toppers, etc. So I wish you all the best, and we'll meet shortly. My other two colleagues, Mr. Praveen and Mr. Chandabhan, would help you to understand their respective areas. Thank you. We'll come again. Thank you.
Pen by pen. I am sure Tariq sir must have given you very basic introduction, and who will take what subject. So I would take just a minute. Ancient part of the history, or you could say ancient India. Few things which I just want to convey. Take it as a introduction. See, first point of study is the basic thing which I would love to cover is chronology. That is event. Because event is analysis. For example, if someone asks you that why any battle or any ancient history, जैसे for example, who is Ashok, who is Bimbisar, the biggest issue, जैसे if you will see the prelims exam, so UPSC started asking the basic chronology. Once they have asked which of the following empire did not exist in 8th century. So they asked Pallav, Rashtrakoot, Hoysal, and Pal. It is question of 2022. Anyone would like to guess which of the following dynasty did not exist in 8th century? So Hoysal is the answer. Your first obligation of any part of history is to know the basic of events. If you do not know which of the following dynasty existed in which part, how are you going to study it? For example, you are teaching me post-independence, and you are teaching me about emergency, 91 reforms, Green Revolution, and I ask you, ki sir, 1 minute, which prime minister came first? And you say first PM was Indira Gandhi, and his son Jawaharlal Nehru was the second PM. Third was friend of Jawaharlal Nehru, Narendra Modi, and fourth after him came Rajiv Gandhi. Imagine a teacher with this chronology trying to teach you post-independence. No matter how good or bad he is, you will say, I am not interested. So please remember, in every part of history, basic story, which is a story. Now, second thing is the interpretation of the story. Who is right, who is wrong? That interpretation of history is called historiography. It's a big word. Word बहुत भारी लगता है, historiography. But believe me, it is not as big. Take an example. Ashok in his inscription say, follow Dhamma. Let's for a minute say Dharma, although it is Dhamma. Many people will take offense, so I am writing Dhamma also. Follow Dhamma. Asking people follow Dhamma. Dhamma means, he says, morality, respect elders, and be tolerant to everyone. So Ashok is saying follow Dhamma. Please tell me, Dhamma means Ashok is asking to spread morality or Buddhism? Morality. You know, Ashok sent his son and daughter to Sri Lanka to spread morality or Buddhism? He sent his son and daughter to Sri Lanka to spread Buddhism. So one king is sending Buddhism to foreign country. Second, all his pillars are found in moral places or Buddhist pilgrimage centers. Buddhist pilgrimage centers. All his pillars are found in those pilgrimage centers. Third, on pillars, whatever he built or made, are the symbols of morality or Buddhism? Buddhism, Chakra, Dhamma Chakra, lion, Buddha himself, horse, arrival, renunciation of Buddha, bull, arrival of Buddha. So please tell me, a king who is spreading religion in foreign country will not spread religion in his own country. A king who's making all the symbolism of Buddhism is not interested in Buddhism. So it is Buddhism or morality. Don't get changed so easily. I am just saying this is what historiography is. According to Romila Thapar, it is morality. According to V.A. Smith, it is Buddhism. A third scholar came, Nayanjot Lahiri. She says his morality is rooted in Buddhism. Meaning, one Muslim lady saw a person beating poor man. Says this man will go to Allah and Allah will punish him. Hindu women saying this man will go to Nark and Yamraj will punish him. Both are saying same or different things. Same, rooted in their religion. So this is the third view. Fourth view, Pinder Singh says, a king who won everything in his kingdom has nothing else to rule. That's why peacefully he wants to make peaceful and want to consolidate his empire. So it is his efforts of consolidation. First story, then the views on the story. These views are called historiography. That is as simple as that. Story with various interpretation. BJP government is good government or bad government? And don't be shy. India is a liberal country. According to some YouTubers, newspapers, news channels, good. According to some, bad. Why should we take blame of this? Hum kyo bole good or bad? There are some views which say good, some views which say bad. Some views which will say good with more bad, some will say more good, less bad. All these views are historiography. So if you will have an interesting way of listening the story, you will have a good hold on historiography. Only thing is the name of scholars which I will tell. वो बड़े बड़े नाम है, we will tell this. जैसे one question came in Mains, GS, 2015. If there would have been no Mahatma Gandhi, what would have happened to national movement of India? Any one of you would like to guess? कोई guess करना चाहेगा? If there would have been no Mahatma Gandhi, what would have happened to Indian national movement? भाई आप इतने गुस्से में क्यों बैठे? हाँ जी, if there would have been no Mahatma Gandhi, what would have happened to national movement of India? क्या बात कर रहे हो यार, महात्मा गांधी के पहले से नेशनल? देखो तो आंसर इज यू आर नॉट एन एस्ट्रोलॉजर टू टेल दिस. दैट्स व्हाई टेक हेल्प ऑफ हिस्टोरियोग्राफी. अकॉर्डिंग टू गांधीयन historiographers, it would have been violent. According to Marxist historiographer, it would have been not controlled by businessmen like Jamnalal Bajaj and Ghanshyam Das Birla. It would have been working class movement, लेबरों का movement होता. According to people like Bhagat Singh or nationalist revolutionaries, India would have been independent in 1920s only. सबके अलग अलग व्यू हैं. How would we know what would have happened? हमें क्या पता क्या होता? You are not important. Your views are not important. Scholars' views are important. Those standard views of scholars are historiography. आपकी जरूरत दिमाग लगाने की नहीं है. Word do not need one more view by you. You are not a scholar. You just have to know the basic views of the scholars. ये बताओ क्लास में as a teacher I come. I teach you what I believe. And second, I teach you what are the prevalent things. Which would you appreciate more? Prevalent things. मेरा तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. Am I a secular person or a communal? None of your business. I should teach you every view. मैं घर में कैसा हूं, that is none of anyone's business. You have to learn the standard views interpretation of this story. That is called historiography. Third are basic sources. From where to do this? So basic sources are class notes. Some of you I could see are GS students also. In GS I never guarantee everything will come from class notes, because GS is more of information based exam. Anything could be asked. Optional may I guarantee. Well, I am a humble person, but in optional I have this superiority complex or guarantee. Whatever will be taught to you will be asked in exam. जो लिखवाएंगे बस चुपचाप वो लिख लेंगे. And for that I am not the right person to ask. You could ask the last year students. They will tell you whatever will be taught will be asked. The reason is optional is academic based. GS type question of Bollywood. Name 5 movies of Shahrukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan. या वो छोड़ो, in Sholay movie, which company shirt Sambha was wearing? ये GS type question है. Optional type question. What is the importance of direction in movie making? What is the importance of cinematography in the effects of movie? What is the importance of marketing in making a movie successful? So there you have to have a understanding based knowledge. In GS, width of the subject is important. In optional, depth of the subject is important. And it is easy to cover the depth because it is more of feeling based. If you have the feeling for the subject, you will be able to answer. जैसे 2 years back they asked, what is the imperial use of Dhamma policy of Ashok? Ashok ki Dhamma policy was a moral person's statements or a king's statement who want peace and consolidation in the empire. So you should be able to write both. Question is asking us to write a king who wants peace and consolidation in the empire. Within 2 minutes of discussion, I hope you could appreciate how we can write this answer. ये आंसर लिखा कैसे जाएगा? This answer will be written on the basis that you should know कि a king who controls everything. जैसे when you will become parents, so you will ask your children all the moral things on which your own parents will laugh. कि इसको क्या हो गया? But still you will say this to your children. So a king who has controlled everything is now teaching morality to everyone. So that is what sources. Sources are class notes plus some books. But every book have a problem. जैसे Upinder Singh have a problem that it is too much of archaeology based. Question on philosophies could not be asked. Problem of IGNU notes that it is too dry. When you will try reading it, no connecting great story. Problem with Romila Thapar, it is just a casual discussion with the students. You will not be able to cover all the topics. So class notes, believe me, I have read all this and included in the notes. So whenever, that's why notes will be a bit comprehensive. थोड़े वो ज़्यादा comprehensive होते हैं because of this promise. Fourth thing, mapping. I am sure you may have heard or don't want this, but at least 10 classes of mapping or 11 classes of mapping I take. And let me tell you, you are not poor in mapping. It's a great myth of students that they say they are poor in mapping. They are poor in history. Let me show you how. आप mapping में उतने poor नहीं है. देखो भाई. This is map of India. Let's make some reverse in it. This is map of India. Please tell me. Mapping है. Please tell me. A ancient capital Patliputra. Patliputra. He knew Patliputra, and you are from which state? बस बिहार. भाई बिहार से है, पाटलिपुत्र पहचान गए. It's not that exact. I'm sure this dot is not exact Bihar. Exact नहीं है बिहार, but you have the feeling of this. A recent terrorist attack site, Pahalgam. How you know I have made dot on Pahalgam? ये तो पता नहीं कहाँ dot बना हुआ है. I myself do not know where I made the dot, but you knew because you have this feeling. कि in Jammu Kashmir, northern India, there is attack. Center of Bollywood, sorry, Bollywood तो बोल दिया. Hindi, sorry, Hindi movie making, Mumbai. An IPL team which never win anything. नहीं अब तो sorry, I apologize. One IPL it was. A city which is famous for its color. Jaipur. Neither Jaipur is exact, nor Bangalore is exact, not Mumbai is exact. If you know the subject, you will be able to mark it. So guarantee, almost 100% guarantee. जैसे for example, a site of recent elections. अभी recent means in future. Recently election will be held here. West Bengal. So mapping is, if you have the feeling for the subject, you will be able to. जैसे for example, ancient का पूछ रहा हूँ. A place of perfume industry, Kannauj. And believe me, I have merged Ganga Yamuna much earlier. ये Kannauj नहीं, it is almost Mathura. But you still saw Ganga Yamuna, and at the mid, you know Kannauj. If you know something, there is no chance you will not be able to do it. And that's why for mapping, first you have to have this belief that whatever you are lacking is not mapping. That is knowledge of history. आपको history आ जाएगी तो mapping भी आ जाएगी. And I can keep on telling. हाँ भाई, a site of rustless iron pillar. Delhi, Mehrauli iron pillar. A site of famous female temple. Kamakhya, Assam. And that's why you need this belief. Whatever you lack is not mapping. That is the knowledge of history. Imagine if you don't know something, how will you mark it? Just for example, if I ask you, an ancient Buddhist university. An ancient Buddhist university. You are unable to tell. ठीक, अब दूसरा सुनो. An ancient Buddhist university, Nalanda. Why you could tell Nalanda and not Vallabhi? Because you are not aware of Vallabhi. तो भाई Vallabhi नहीं पता तो what will you mark there? थोड़ी लोग वो वाली. You have to know Vallabhi first. So if you know Vallabhi, so easy. अब जैसे many of GS student can answer and many of others could also answer. An ancient lake. Lake. हाँ सही. Sudarshan Lake. If you know the information, you will be able to mark. ये बताया very large Buddhist statue. Large 2 Buddhist statues blown up by Taliban in 2001. अच्छा आप लोग अभी उसमें उम्रदार नहीं हुए हो. 2001 they have blown it. Bamiyan Buddha statue. So they are Bamiyan Buddha statue. 2023 final World Cup heartbreak. Ahmedabad देखो भाई. So if you know the places, you will be able to mark it. Problem is that's why. This is the fourth part of it. Mapping. Fifth, which is the end of everything. Those who have not done that have not done anything. That is answer writing. When to start answer writing? After class number 3. When class number 3 will be over, if any one of you from GS could see at 9 PM whenever I leave the class, there are many students who come with their answers. Every day you write answers, every day I will check it. and answer writing has to be done in a certain way. For answer writing, the most important thing is point-wise information. Please tell me the answer of this question. What are the problems of, since independence, Indian governments are trying to increase the exports of India with very less success in it. Full stop, examine. What to write in it? What to write in it? तो आपसे पूछा क्या गया? What is asked? Why Indian exports are low? तो जरा point में बता दें why Indian exports are low. Just point form, why Indian exports? जो आपको समझ में आए, जो याद आ जाए. Indian exports are low because lack of manufacturing. Second, high logistic cost. Bas two more. Third, lack of skilled labor. Meaning is, break up the question in the simplest information wise and write 8 to 10 points. बस इतना कर लें आप. Every topic which comes under you in GS and optional both, you should be 8 to 10 points ready with that. आपके पास 8 से 10 पॉइंट बस रेडी रहे. जैसे if I ask you, question is asked, difference between Rig Vedic age and later Vedic age. Optional also same year they asked, GS also same year they asked. पहली बात तो history optional and GS is almost same because they asked almost same question. In 2017 they asked decolonization of Malaysia in GS, Indonesia in optional. Even if you change, it is equally difficult. In 2024 they asked the same question, difference between Rig Vedic and later Vedic age in GS also, optional also. हाँ जी, what is difference between Rig Vedic and later Vedic age? तो बस point form, कुछ answer छोड़ दो. Rig Vedic this side, later Vedic this side. Tax is obligatory. Sorry, tax is tributary. Tax is obligatory. Less revenue, more revenue. King is elected really. King is elected on paper, like our political party is head. So just the difference. That is answer writing. 5 things and some of your hard work and blessings of your elders. It will be an easy thing. ठीक है ना? Whatever I have to do or whatever I generally do, I just convey it here. Any question from any side? I don't think there is any question. तो क्या ही मैंने पढ़ा दिया जो सवाल आएगा इसमें, है ना? Just want to tell you, whatever you have to, these are the summary, and every topic of the history part will be and should be done in the same way. First is a story. Second is the interpretation of the story. Third are sources where you have to read all this. Fourth is mapping, the geography of history. Achha, UPSC is interested in geography of history also. In GS also they are interested in geography of history. This year they asked a question. This year they asked in GS का question बता रहा हूँ. Kamboj, Vipasa river. 2025 prelims है ये. Avanti Mahanadi. Kosal Sarayu. Ashmak Godavari. How many are correct? Forget about how many are correct. GS is equally interested in the geography of history. Question asked in 2023, GS के question बता रहा हूँ. Optional में तो obviously they ask how geography decides the events of ancient history. Ancient history decided by geography. Why Hitler and Napoleon both could not conquer Britain? Why Hitler and Napoleon both cannot conquer Britain? Strip of English Channel water. Island है बस. Otherwise they would have routed. Why every attack comes from northwest, not from northeast? Large mountains in northeast. Khyber Pass open in northwest. Simple answer. From Delhi to Bangladesh, 80 crore people are living. Why? Ganga Yamuna plains. 80 crore log from Delhi to Bangladesh are living. Geography. So geography decides history, UPSC has asked. That's why they ask this. I am sure you must have heard in geography also GS mapping is needed. In history also mapping is needed. So story, interpretation, sources, geography of history, and then its application on paper. Exam is about writing, not about talking. Those who do not write answers are those who are preparing for debate but never speak. Imagine a person who don't know how to speak. No matter how much you know, you will not be able to convey. On the other hand, take the spokesperson of political parties, come on every channel, talk on every point, every topic. हर topic पे same आएंगे, वही लड़ते मिलेंगे आपको. Why they come and talk on every topic? Because they know how to speak, not because they are expert of their subjects. If you will do answer writing, it will translate into the success. ठीक है ना? I think I have conveyed whatever I have to convey. Every part of history will be dealt in same way. अब I'm asking Chandrabhan sir, है ना? ठीक.
So good evening all of you. I'll be taking your modern world history. About history, I would like to start by saying one very famous idea that history is a habit of structured judgment. It converts facts into opinions and judgment. Try to understand what I've just said is that history is a subject in which whatever comes before us, we try to analyze it from various point of view. That is why we have different schools of historiography. And then based on these various ways at which we look at, we try to have a broader understanding of it. So as a teacher of history and before that a student, I'm still a student of history. One thing that I have learned from this subject is that not to take anything at face value, but to have a deep multi-dimensional opinion about it. And this examination, UPSC Civil Services examination, is about why and how, where at all occasions, in all the subjects, you are required to have a balanced judgment. So I would say, because the faculties who have spoken before me have already said about the offerings of history, but one thing I would say always is that when you study history, you start becoming opinionated. Yes, it comes with a lot of hard work, but then good things do not come easy. It requires a bit of hard work. So first thing is this. Second, when we talk about history optional subject, because I think some of you are also a part of GS, even if you're not, you might know that history optional has one, that is thesis. Thesis means every chapter has a core idea or core argument. Every chapter, whether it is ancient, I would be taking modern world, but every chapter has a core argument or a core theme around which the entire chapter revolves. And before you start writing answers, once you have done in the class, it is very, very important for you to understand the central theme. For example, just Praveen ji finished. When he will be taking your Mauryan history, then you would say that one of the salient features of Mauryan history, what is the salient feature of Mauryan history? Just tell me one thing. Centralized administration, elaborate bureaucracy. And then everything revolves around that. Agreed? Everything revolves. Or when Rohan sir will be taking your early medieval India, then we deal more with regionalism, fragmentation, feudalism. Agreed? So very, very important. For example, in modern world history, we discuss a very important ideology of liberty. Agreed? But the interpretation of liberty across American Revolution, French Revolution, and Russian Revolution is not the same. Liberty in American Revolution is freedom from or freedom from authoritarian rule, from political tyranny. So their liberty is conceptualized more in terms of political justice. Agreed? When we look at the French Revolution was not only driven by political goal, but they are attempting at a social revolution. So I will teach Rousseau, who is the most influential thinker of French Revolution. Rousseau says that liberty comes when the community has decision making powers, popular sovereignty. So it is very important thing. If you do not understand this, then you would not be writing very, I would say, concept oriented answers. According to Marx, who is the intellectual father of, say, Russian Revolution, although Lenin has varied, has modified it. So according to Marx, liberty comes not just from political freedom, but liberty comes when you are able to work according to your passion. Means he interprets liberty in terms of economic justice. तो ये जो बात मैं कह रहा हूं, this is called as thesis. For example, when we will discuss decolonization, then decolonization is based on a very important principle, that is principle of self-determination. Agreed? Principle of self-determination. So in class, you would come across a lot of events, developments, but one thing which is very important, which we emphasize upon, is that we try to weave the entire concept around the thesis, core idea, and then it can have subsidiary ideas. Agreed that? जैसे अभी गल्फ में वॉर हो रहा है, crisis in West Asia. Agreed? Then whenever we talk about the Gulf, then what are the things that come to our mind? One is oil based economy. Agreed? Second is limited political freedom that we see in the case of Iran. Third, we see most of the states are authoritarian in nature, means public representation is limited. Agreed? It is limited. Then the entire idea, whether you talk about Iran, Saudi Arab, Iraq has fallen, Syria, then there is a theory which we discuss in class that is called as rentier theory. That those governments which derive majority of their income from a rent means you have a resource and you sell that resource, you don't actually produce something. So here the resource is oil. These are called as rentier states. They are not productive states like Europe industrialization. Agreed? Rentier states, or not even agrarian, they don't tax their people. You might have seen that in Dubai, income tax rate is 0. Often you would have heard. Why? Because they don't need revenue from the people, they derive all their revenue from rent. But the flip side of this, it looks very good. The flip side of this is that because they don't tax the people, so they tell the people that we will also not give you political rights. Because it has been understood that if people are taxed, then they also want to have a political say. That is the flip side of it. Agreed? Although states like West Asian states are diversifying, but that is the core theory. So what we do is that we will not be just discussing topic or just moving around the events. We will be understanding and trying to tell you the core theme that is called as thesis. Second thing in history that is called as arguments. In fact, your answer writing also has to be like this only. Arguments, answer writing should be, or history reading, although it is like narration, story, events, people, places, geographical locations. But actually what you read is not, you just don't look at events, people, places, but you try to develop an understanding. That is what I started by saying, that history is a habit of structured judgment. You start thinking, okay, to what extent, to what degree? Can we say that the democracy that emerged after American Revolution was a true democracy? On the face of it, anybody can say, okay, but then many of you will say that no, sir, it was not a true democracy because women were denied political rights and property inheritance rights. The blacks were not even given citizenship. So how can it be a true democracy? That is called as an argumentative outlook. in everywhere. You need to focus, not facts are required. Why facts are required? To substantiate your arguments, but it should be argument. You move from one argument to other. Third, which is very, very important, is evidence. Now, evidence can be, you read in your ancient India, sources for studying Indian history. Sources can be multiple, archaeological. If I talk about ancient India, in medieval India, archaeological bhi hai, literary bhi hai. And then when you talk about evidence, evidence in case of paper 2, modern India and modern world, we will be referring to many of the historical works, historiography, historian opinion. It is very, very important, because let me tell you, if you know, there was a very famous historian, E.H. Carr. सुना है आपने नाम? नहीं सुना है, मैं आपको बताता हूं, and I will tell you how to use E.H. Carr in your conclusions. E.H. Carr ने किताब लिखी What is History, and according to him, history is a constant interaction between historian and the fact. So E.H. Carr says that if any event has occurred, two historians will draw different conclusions from it. Agreed? Marxist historian किसी इवेंट को क्लास स्ट्रगल और इकोनॉमिक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के तौर पे देखता है. Rankian historian will just look at that as an event and will record. Agreed? Then you look at Annales school, which will look not at the political development, will look at continuity. So that is the beauty of it. He says that history is nothing but interpretation. तो आप क्या करते हैं? You don't have to. One common misunderstanding, or I would say a myth is prevailing in the UPSC aspirant circle, is that when we prepare history optional, we have to memorize the name of many historians if we want to master historiography. Not, that is not the case. Yes, the good part is that when you study a chapter, जब आपको thesis और argument थोड़े समझ में आ गए, then you yourself will realize that for every section there are 2 to 3 views. For example, if anybody asks, how do you see the American Revolution? You will say that on the face of it, American Revolution is a revolution which is driven by political issues. That is why one of the prominent slogans was no taxation without representation. तो ये बात तो सबको पता है. So means the people who were a part of this protest, for them taxation से बड़ा problem क्या है? Representation. Means it is a political issue. But then there is another historian, Charles Baird, who says that no, it was more driven by economic issues, because after 1763, the British laws which were passed were hurting the economic interest of traders and merchants. तो ये बात समझने में आपको बहुत याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Or any section, nature of 1857 revolt. Britishers will never say that it was the first war of independence, will they? No. But nationalists would say yes. Marxist will interpret 1857 in terms of the conflict happening at the class level. Certain zamindars were not happy when the land was taken away by the Sunset Law 1794. So if you look at it from the point of view of different historians, even if you don't remember, आपको समझ में आ जाएगा that there are, to look at any development, 3 to 4 ways, and then you will become argumentative. आपसे कुछ भी पूछा जाएगा, even in your day-to-day life, you will not have a unidirection, or you will not have a monolithic view, you will have a multi. So this is the third thing. And the fourth thing which makes your answer, or which makes you a real connoisseur of history, is linkage. हमें याद रखना. Linkage means even if there is a development that has happened in one part of the world, it is definitely going to have its impact outside that. Means how American Revolution led to a transatlantic revolution, how American Revolution changed the nature of British rule in India. Agreed? So linkage, and this is the beauty, Indian feudalism versus European feudalism. Renaissance in India, sorry, Renaissance in Europe versus Renaissance in India. Enlightenment in Europe versus socio-religious reform movement in India. This is called as linkage. अभी वॉर चल रहा है एंड ये हम करते हैं. इट इज नॉट समथिंग दैट यू विल लर्न इन दिस सब्जेक्ट, इट इज समथिंग दैट यू डू. आप देखते हैं ना, द वॉर इज गोइंग ऑन इन ईरान. We often discuss what will be the impact on India. What is going to be the impact of this conflict on the balance of power in that region and overall globally? What will be the position of women? Are we going to see a revolution, or it is just merely a change of leader? So when we study history, if you start your preparation and gradually once you are done with sections, आप बस ये करो. Once you are done with a chapter, try to figure out what is the thesis, what are the arguments, what are few important evidence. You don't have to remember all the evidences, because see, we all have come here to have a long term understanding of history so that we can use it, or at least have a better understanding in the future also. Agreed? You are not here to become a historian. You don't have to write in a way as some of you who come from history background used to in your college, or say some of our PhD candidates also. And then this is linkage. Maybe in the class, when we discuss, we will be helping you to understand the linkage, but we encourage you, because class is a place where we not only cover the syllabus, we try to ignite your intuitive thought. तो पहले तो ये समझ लीजिए, दिस वन पार्ट. आई विल बी टेकिंग योर मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री. I will not be able to tell everything about modern world history for now, but few things, if you can remember, it would be great. Modern world history is driven by 5 structural engines. 5 structural engines, or if you ask, then modern world history revolves around 5 central questions. आप जैसे देखना चाहें. So there are 5 structural engines, or 5 core issues around which modern world history revolves. I'll try to record something and post on the YouTube about what is the dynamic interpretation of modern world history syllabus. वो हम बाद में करते हैं. पहले ये 5 स्ट्रक्चरल इंजन्स क्या हैं? पहला, फर्स्ट, who controls meaning, ideas. So when we start our syllabus, we start with a very important but a very opinionated theme, the birth of modernity in Europe, rise of modern ideas and principles. And that is why we discuss the birth of modernity, how Europe, which was very backward, people were extremely superstitious, they used to blindly obey the church. Agreed? There was so much of violence, patriarchy, slavery, serfdom, everything. How it emerged as the place where many progressive changes started happening, but first the changes happened at the level of ideas. I always say this, that पहले विचारों की क्रांति आती है, and then the revolutions happen in the society, politics, or wherever. So when we talk about birth of modernity, the rise of new meaning, 15th to 18th century, we will see that modernity emerged, or who controls meaning, how? Renaissance, Reformation, Scientific Revolution, Enlightenment. पहला ये है. Change in the meaning, your thought perception changed. Agreed? नहीं तो अगर आप यूरोप को देखें, medieval Europe was much worse after the fall of Roman Empire than India. कई बार आपके दिमाग में ये सवाल आता है that if India used to be so great, then why were we being colonized? Why were being ruled by the Europeans, by the British, not the vice versa? Second aspect is who controls power. This was a central question. So guys, we will study the rise of political modernity, the shift in the power from king, church, feudal lord to people. People. और ये कैसे होगा? American Revolution. People means leaders of the people. French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, revolutions in Europe, 19th century. So we talk about the political revolutions or AR, FR, Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution and numerous revolutions. फिर हम देखेंगे not all the revolts have been successful. UPSC asked a very dynamic question last year that how the ideas of French Revolution are relevant in the current times. What we are witnessing in India's neighborhood, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, what we are seeing in Iran, is it going to become a revolution? When a revolt becomes a revolution, we will discuss. हम देखेंगे यूरोप में 1848 में बहुत से revolutions हुए, revolts हुए, but they failed. Then Marx had said, history repeats itself, first as a tragedy, then as a farce. So we have to understand who controls power. Very, very important. We will see a shift in power from these to the people. At least in the progressive states, we can see this. The third is who controls economy or production. Guys, we will see shift in the mode of production. Socialists say that who controls the mode of production are the most powerful people in any community, from feudalism to capitalism. In modern capitalism, we will see industrial revolution, rise of finance capitalism. Agreed? So this is very important. How this shift has happened, how geographical forces have played a role. We will see how there has been transition in the society. Was industrial revolution an event or the culmination of this? Then we will link with Indian history also. Fourth chapter or fourth section is who controls power. Sorry, who controls the world? So it was not just about developments happening. We see expansion of Europe. We see how Europe dominated the world, Eurocentrism. So to understand who controls the world, we will first start with imperialism, colonialism. Then we will discuss major wars. Which are the major wars? Total wars. World War I, War of Empires, and World War II, War of Ideologies. They were fighting, not because they just had national rivalry, they wanted to control. But then the fifth theme is who controls the future. This is very, very dynamic because even what is happening now can be studied here. Who controls the future? So after Second World War, we started discussing Cold War, decolonization, US unipolarity. Agreed? West Asia. So when you look at the syllabus, you look at the various themes around which the syllabus revolves, then you would notice that we are not just studying events, we are seeing the change in the balance of power at the global level, at the national level, and at the society level also. Amidst all this, it is not just about power, it is not just about production, we will see social dynamics also changing. How the position of women changed, feminist movement, feminism in Europe versus feminism in India. Agreed? As far as the sources are concerned, so again, only class notes would be more than sufficient. Apart from that, we will be giving you some supplementary books for additional reading. You don't have to read anything else than that. And then we have sectional tests. I'll be taking sectional tests. Means once we are done with, say, the first part, birth of modernity, we have a test. Then American Revolution, French Revolution, American Civil War, we have a test. And then the idea is that as we write more and we try to understand how to make our answer very argumentative and very structured, so it would not happen in one go, it would take some time. And in the classes we discuss, I make sure that all the important PYQs, it is not practically possible to discuss, but the difficult PYQs are done in the class. If required, we can do some writing of it. So the only book which I suggest students to purchase is the new Vishal's previous year questions. Right. So for now, I would restrict myself. I would not get too detailed into this, but this is the approach which I follow and which all of us follow in our classes. Fine. The classes will be held on all the 7 days. Why? Because it is important to complete the syllabus holistically with all the answer writings, and the timing will be conveyed to you. So if you have any doubt, I would request my fellow faculties to come over and take the doubt whatever you have. Fine. Just wait. Bula lijiye. Online students, you can turn on your camera because that would be great. So how many of you are GS students? Okay. I think means we have met. First year fledgling students. Achha. Bulai. So your classes are done, will be done. Okay. One thing that we suggest all students, irrespective of whatever optional you take, try to finish optional as early as possible, because it takes some time to consolidate, to revise, to write. Agreed? Means if possible, you should take your optional as early as possible. Means that is why we started from last year the batch in the month of April, so that by October and November end, you are done and dusted, and you have at least 2 months if you want to revise more, right? Agreed? So that is the best time, I would say, for everybody, because by the time of I think mid-Feb or end of Feb, everybody is into the prelims mode.
So welcome again. If you have any queries, we can ask, and me and my colleague Parveen Sahab would give you all possible answers. Yes, online people, you're also welcome. Why I do not go my home? Yes, please.
So my question is, like, I am from a science background. So last time I studied history was in class 10, and now I'm petrified of history, that I would say. But now that I attended the workshop, I can see that we have to study all these topics for the GS anyways, and some of the topics will be added for the optional. That's what I think for now. But why do the students have this perception that history is a difficult subject to choose for an optional compared to all these sociology and all these subjects? Why do students not choose history? Because so much alignment is there.
Yes, yes, I got your point. She has asked the question that why a science student generally, as she is from, have this perception that history is little boring, maybe challenging, etc. These are perceptions. Perception is perception. Reality is different. UPSC expect you research yourself, and in any case, you have to study one subject, whatever subject you choose, right? Most popular subjects are those 7-8 subjects. History remains consistently like Rahul Dravid, in cricket, whereas there are certain subjects which has gone up and down. Number one. Number two, GS paper, as you rightly said, it is going to contribute. I said even in essay it would contribute, in your prelims it would contribute, in your interview it would contribute, right? And all subjects are good or bad depending upon two things: A, students; B, teacher. that in our school days, some subjects like math and history became if difficult. I personally believe that in school days, which teacher you got in which subject, that subject became interesting or boring mostly because of the teachers, especially in class 6, 7, 8. Am I right? But since the teachers of all subjects are not uniform, so many a time teachers might have done his best but not could generate interest. So you and we thought, like for me, math was boring, but math was not boring. It was my teacher who might have made the subject boring. So in UPSC, you have to give chance to all subjects. You, if you want to add, you can
I
please.
want to add one thing, if I am
Yeah.
audible to everyone. By profession, I am a computer science engineer. And I had interest in this subject. And then later I have done MA. I'm not illiterate in history. Later I have done MA. But just telling you, if you go to Twitter, YouTube, anywhere, people discuss only history. It's not boring. It is taught by those to you who themselves are not very confident in it. And that's why their main challenge is to remember the things. It's not about remembering. In optional, so not at all. First thing. And second thing, small syllabus subjects are more dynamic and have more competition. Large syllabus subjects are not dynamic, less competition. At the end of the day, like life, all subjects are equally challenging. In Delhi, more wealth, but in business, more competition. In small cities, less wealth, but less competition. In Karol Bagh, many customers come, but you have to compete with hundreds of shops. In a small city, there are less number of shops, less customer, but less competition. So it evens out. And second thing, what is a teacher if subject still feels difficult to you? And don't worry about that. Every background. And second thing, it is not a math or science that you need background. And Mahatma Gandhi came to India from South Africa. You don't need background for that. So don't worry about that background.
How will the answer copies get checked for the online students? We have a system that you can write it down as we did it with the earlier batches, and through our notepad we will write comment also, and we will revert it back, right? And even if you wish, we can do it in hard copies. We have done it both ways. So with the technology, I don't think it's a problem. Okay, then you are scared from medieval history. In fact, medieval history have scared people rather than you are scared with medieval history, right? So that is all because you have not read from professional teachers and not authentic source, right? And do not, as some other candidates said about time and date line, etc. These are very basic dates you have to know. In all the dates, how many digits are required? Say 1526, 1761, 1753. How many digits? 4. You think this 4 is difficult, right? But उसका मोबाइल नंबर 10 डिजिट का होता है और वो तुम्हें पूरा याद रहता है, और कई लोगों को तो 3-3 मोबाइल याद रहता है. वो कैसे याद रहता है? क्योंकि you want to remember that. So it's not like you can't remember. It's all about you want it or you don't want. This is one. Number two, all dates you don't have to remember exactly the year. Like Kabir was born in 1440, died in 1520. If you forget, it won't make any difference at any stage. All you remember, Kabir was in 15th, 16th century. That's it. Kabir was senior to Nanak because Nanak was born in 1469, died in 1539. Now, if you read it somewhere that Kabir was earlier or Nanak was earlier, Meera was earlier or Namdev was earlier, and they would always compare with the like type. Like they could not compare Kabir and Akbar because Akbar is a king, Kabir was a saint. So they would compare Akbar with Sher Shah. I hope you're getting Governor General with Governor General. So there is some logic that you have to use, that which fact you have to remember. We have to remember in every subject, and others you can just have a rough idea that if you don't remember Buddha was born in 563 BC and died in 483 BC, it won't make any difference. Just remember 6th, 5th century BC. You understood this? Yes.
What I feel, sir, dates are generally told so that you information could be. Just for example, if I tell I am born in 1990 and my brother is born in 1980, it is not for you to remember. It is for you कि when you read my history, you should be aware कि I was young when Congress government was ruling. I was of this age, and I come across this technology. Later, some poor quality teaching style started focusing on these years only. Started focusing. None of us remember exactly how many runs Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma made in which matches. Generally, we have general idea, he's good, he's bad. So dates are not for it. And basic dates, I hope you are aware, India was independent in, but you need this date. In entire 40s, 1942 is an important date, 1947 is an important date. The exact month dates no one remember, no one asked. More mature subject in mathematics, mature mathematics, 27's cube is never asked. 27 cube is asked only in low level mathematics papers. In high level mathematics paper, you will be asked x square is greater than 0. Do you feel it? You feel it. If you feel the subject, you don't need these many dates. Otherwise, World War is starting, World War ending, these are so famous dates, you know it. Whatever dates you know before joining the class are the dates you require till the end of the class. Dates are never discussed, never asked. Dates are only told to you for you to have an idea. So idea के लिए date बताई थी. Date इसलिए नहीं कि आपको याद करना. हाँ.
Yeah. And Nallar ready. Don't worry about your test series. You are getting enough. But if you want, we can have some more tests through teachers also. Vajiram, as it's a very robust system, so just sync with their schedule, right? Can you just scroll some above questions?
Sir, what will be the timing of the class? 5:30?
5:30 we are normally taking classes so that you are free from your GS and other engagement, and that helps students more, in fact, right? Yes, any other?
So history is the most lengthiest optional activity, sir.
तो वो GS में भी भाई उतना ही लेंदी है. Ancient, medieval, modern, world, art and culture. GS syllabus is bigger than optional.
No, I can add one more thing. In history, certain portion, like in medieval and ancient, even if you skip, you won't miss it. It is called calculated risk, because you have to study all topics, some topics more seriously, so more depth, some just casually, so that you can balance it, right? And even in modern India, I will tell you how. So even if you prepare 80% of the syllabus, but with 100% perfection, you can do that. So syllabus wise, they give it all, but many questions they don't ask.
जैसे pre-history से sir not even a single question is asked. The Stone Age से not even a single question.
Even such a so important topic like 1857, I have not seen since last 10 years any single question. So it is very bad luck that it would be asked in 11th year. You get my point or not? So this is called calculated risk. So we will give a chart that how to predict some questions are coming regularly, some with some regular interval. These are the strategies we have made it already with our experiences, and if you get it, so you know what to drop. Of course, 100% guarantee is not given. Mutual fund is subject to market risk. You know this? So our guess is also little risky, but it is called calculated risk. And as far as length, suppose in public administration, you saw 3 chapters. In history, you saw 7 chapters. But once you go in public administration theory, 1 chapter may take as much time as history 3 chapters. So that is what you do not know, that how different subjects have been designed. For instance, in literature, any literature you take it, Hindi, Urdu, Bangla, Marathi, the syllabus looks very small. But to understand one poet, maybe your whole life is not enough. I hope you're getting, because that is literary thing. You read it, Mahadevi Verma and Bhartendu Harishchandra and Mirza Ghalib, and you may not understand it. But in history, you can easily understand with the narrative, with the points, you can remember, you can reproduce. That's the advantage. So never measure by quantity any subject. That is another illusion. Yes, you're asking something.
So, could you brief out about mapping and historiography as it is important in history option? And can I write historiography in GS answers also?
No one ever said that you can't write. But GS answer will not leave you for that much scope. GS answer इतना पूछेगा नहीं आपसे.
150 words, 250 words.
उतना डेप्थ में आप जा ही नहीं पाओगे. But GS answer asked कि on the basis of sculpture describe the medieval society. तो ताजमहल as Persian dome, arrival of Persians. इसमें कौन सी historiography? Historiography तो उसमें है, when they will ask कि Ashok's inscription, what is the purpose of writing inscription? वहाँ पे historiography.
And there are certain portion in like modern history when you're talking about different schools, Marxist school, nationalist, subaltern. We will discuss that to make you understand that how the same partition is looked differently by Marxist, differently by nationalist, differently by communal writers. You should have an idea, but when you're writing, the teacher is not interested in knowing what Bipan Chandra said, Irfan Habib said, Sumit Sarkar said, Ramchandar Guha said. They know it. They are interested in knowing what Miss Pooja understood, what Mr. Rohit understood. So you have to internalize the ideas and thoughts of historians in your own language. That is what they are checking. In few rare cases, like theory of decline of Mughal Empire, are you getting on? Drain of wealth theory. Here you have to write as per Morris D. Morris, as per Dada Bhai Nauroji. Are you getting? But if you look at, as he rightly said, in 98% questions, you don't need historiographs in codes, which is a general pattern in history department. Since I did history and post graduation, so I knew we have to remember AGP Taylor said this, and to remember that also it's a challenging because often you misquote some people while writing. So hope that would not and that should not frighten you to remember historians and historiography, right? Okay, will this class will held regularly? Tell me.
Step up mentorship students too. Why? What is the problem with step up mentorship students? Acha, how they will cover it? Because the timings will clash.
Okay.
So I think you go to the office, they will obviously give you some solution of this. Hai na?
Okay.
Well, classes.
Classes also are held at 5.
Which classes?
GS.
That is all will be taken care of. All
Once you have a class here, they would adjust you either in GS or in optional. Most likely in GS.
It's their job to do it. Means they have to do it. It's not that they will do it. You just go and tell your two classes are clashing. So it's their duty, job, everything.
You're fundamental right. And let me just take one Kangana question that she's asking. She's confused between political science and history. You have to decide. I would suggest my way is read 2-3 chapters of both if you have doubt, and some very tough, some average, some simple, and then think like this: which subject inspires you most? Develop some interest from your own heart. It's like you have pizza one side and you have bhindi another side. Now, no comparison, but some people may like bhindi, some people may like pizza. Both are important. Similarly, history, political science, geography, all subjects are good, but you have to decide. If I tell it would be my choice, I would be biased in favor of history because I have lived with history so many years. I hope I gave you answer. Can you take this question?
Sir, what aspects, sociological, economical, philosophical, religious, etc. of history we have to study in history apart from optional, apart from GS history? So almost it is same. History as a subject in totality is understood. In optional, a bit more emphasis on non-story part also, apart from story views here and there. Otherwise, believe me, it looks exaggerated. Believe me, GS and optional are 90% same. The reason is you will not understand you will not feel in GS also without so many stories. Those who have read GS here must have understood. When I teach, so it is almost same. Bolna hi padta hai. In GS, we will only speak this. In optional, we will ask you to write that also. But you will have to cover that. Kutna cover karna hi padta hai.
And over a period of time, the standard of GS has gone up. And many questions I saw in GS history is higher than optional history. Like a question which was asked, the question was like Gandhi's relevance in 21st century. This question was in GS. Now it's not so easy that what are those principles of Gandhi and what are those relevance in 21st century. So in our classes, once you attend, I'm sure whether GS or essay, interview or optional, it is going to be covered holistically, because what I personally believe, I'm sure my colleague would also believe, that there is no substitute of few things like class lecture and good reading of some good text, good articles, etc., which you yourself do. Of course, majority work you have to do on the basis of what you understood, what notes you have taken, and then how you reproduce it, right?
एक मिनट इसमें
Yeah.
2011 GS question, relevance of Jainism today. 2025 optional question, relevance of GS today. Jainism today. So GS question is relevance of Jainism in 2025. Optional question is relevance of Jainism in 2011. 2016 or 17. In GS they asked in decolonization of Malaysia. In optional they asked decolonization of Indonesia. I am sure many of us consider both the countries exactly as same. It's like Paraguay, Uruguay. No one knows where Indonesia, where is Malaysia. Same questions are asked. In history, you have to, 2014, in GS and optional, both time they asked, Suez Canal crisis. Suez Canal crisis in GS also, Suez Canal crisis in optional also.
And now Hormuz crisis.
Now Hormuz, ठीक बात है. So this is equally important in both of them. But it's your wish. ऐसा तो, because we are obviously teaching history, so what else will we say? We take which optional? But obviously optional has to be taken on gut feeling also. Every optional is a wrong optional. After reading 1 month, you will feel it's like traffic jam in Delhi. Whichever road you will take, you will feel, I would have taken that road, that would have been easier. Jam sab road pe laga hua hai.
And one more analogy is that in your restaurant, when you go to a restaurant, you order the best food of your choice. Once you start eating and you look at another table, and then you wish, gosh, you know that? So optional sometimes is like that. But you have to give time to all optional equally with this objective how to score 280 plus. That is our objective also. Since many of our students got it, that is why we are confident that any of you can get it. You heard the movie A, B, C, D. What is that? Anybody can dance. I don't know whether anybody can dance or not. What I know, A, B, C, C, anybody can crack. You're getting my point? Through history optional. So how much history optional syllabus should be covered before prelims to feel confident for me? Depending upon which months you're starting. So if you're starting right now in April 22nd and you're writing for 2027, you have all the time in the world.
I thought, sir, this prelims.
No. In this prelims, I'm sure none of them are going to appear in this prelim. This is not the right time. For this
sir, what is the difference between anthropology and history? I mean, whether history covers anthropology concepts as well. Anthropology is made up of 3 things. One is genetics of biology of anthropology. Second is society of anthropology. Third is archaeological anthropology. Only archaeological anthropology matches. Anthropology subject is made separate from prehistory. Anthropology subject is part of prehistory. History before Indus Valley or Vedic age. So history before Vedic age is now in 1988 is made a separate subject. So anthropology is earliest part of history. And that's why majority of questions are asked there in anthropology. So by concept both are different. But for exam syllabus for concept both are same. But for exam syllabus both are different. Anthropology stops and the history subject starts.
जब आप 4 पैर पे चलते थे.
हाँ, जब आप 4 पैर पे चलते थे या नहीं बोलते थे या लूट के खाते थे एक दूसरे से. So then anthropology. When you behave proper, मतलब when you start writing starts. Writing means history.
नहीं जब आप civilized हो गए तो हमारे पास आ गए. You get it or not? क्योंकि history generally most syllabus start from civilization, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Indus Valley civilization. When you got the art of writing, and when you start city life or organized life, that is all most part. A little bit Stone Age, which Praveen Saab would take care, and then most part is civilizational history.
Sir, क्या ratio रहता है? Ancient, medieval, modern. Will all 3 be equal in history optional? Bhai 4. Ancient, medieval, modern, world.
In paper 1 you have ancient and medieval. In paper 2 you have modern and world. And it's all depend upon one question extra. You can do it either in ancient or medieval or in modern India or world. But all are equally important in terms of weightage of marks, right? Yes, in prelims, world history is not there. So in prelims, ancient, medieval, modern, I hope you are aware already about it, okay?
ऊपर करो भाई कुछ सवाल है.
Scroll करके ऊपर ले आओ.
Sir?
Yes, please.
So my question was, how different history optional is from the graduation history? Because in initial stage of preparation, every student who has done graduation in that subject it tends to take that as an option. So what is the primary difference?
It depends first from which college you did. Unfortunately, that matters a lot in India because out of 1,200 universities, सब एक जैसा तो है नहीं, गलगोटिया भी है ना, प्लीज डोंट माइंड. सो कौन से टीचर मिले आपको, अगर वो उन्होंने ढंग से पढ़ाया होगा तो वन थिंग इज क्लियर, कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर होगा, कुछ नोट्स होंगे आपके, दैट वुड हेल्प. बट इवन इफ as she is from science background, you studied history, somebody is engineering, I taught many doctors who studied history. So here it's a level playing game, right? So you do not have to worry about your background, that what you studied. And in university, since as I said, I studied as well as I taught, so I know वहाँ पे orientation pure academic होता है. Lectures, what is called, कि 3 दिन तक French Revolution पे ही बात होगा, and the professor would talk a lot of here and there. But here in this exam, to the point, come to the point. Are you getting not? So that come to the point art is very unique in civil service, and some teachers have mastered it. That even if they have not studied in graduation geography, history, like he said, and they have mastered it, how to crack UPSC questions. And some I saw in university even who's teaching since last 30 years history, and when we gave him a UPSC question, they struggle. Like I said, Gandhi's relevance in 21st century. This question is not easy for academicians. Similarly, both Gandhi and Ambedkar wanted to uplift Dalit, but their approaches were different. So this exam requires different orientation for both student and faculty. Luckily, here in Vajiram, we have a team of those faculties who have mastered for this. Now, I fear that if I go back in university, would I be eligible there or not? Because now I would struggle there, as they have gone too much academics and I have gone too much in competitive mode. But that is good for you. If you want to add.
No, sir. Just I want to tell you, whatever will be taught to you will be taught with a purpose.
Yes.
Everything has a purpose. Just we have discussed. So we have discussed with a sense of urgency. Here, no teacher came and stood and then coolly started casual discussions. Where are you from? What are you from? This is the exam. This is the purpose. This is the syllabus. You have to generate topics. You have to write answer, and everything has to be a purpose, a sense of urgency. So, जो sense of urgency है, that is generally missing in the colleges. You all must have seen. Syllabus हुआ नहीं हुआ. यहाँ पे teachers end class at this time, but they stretch for hours. So because everything has a sense of purpose and urgency. ऐसा नहीं है कि here, and for a student also it is expected. कि whatever you know, if you cannot, जैसे I have discussed, if you cannot write everything on points, you cannot immediately remember. So that is not the purpose. ये भाषण नहीं देना है आपको. You can talk on French Revolution 2 hours. Not important. Can you write French Revolution in a page? If you can't, this exam is not for you. So that type of urgency is needed. नीचे करो भाई. My first attempt shall be in 29. I was planning to take history optional 27. So I wanted to ask if right decision to take history optional course in 2027. My first attempt is to. देखो वैसे तो it is general sir rule है as soon as possible. The reason is you have to be mature, but फिर at the end of the day you have to take this decision. Decision तो आप ही को लेना है. But ठीक बात है. जैसे CSAT type subjects and your optional.
Prashant is asking, should interest in that subject precede everything else? No, interest is one such thing. But obviously, if you can't understand, what is the point of taking? That is why I said that if you study 1 or 2 chapters from NCERT or any other, and then see whether you are getting also or not. So interest would come only when you are understanding. I hope you're getting. And then how much it is relevant in GS paper, essay paper, and then can you clear this exam as a whole with that subject or not? So everything matters, in which interest should be at top. Clear? Yes, any other question?
Sir, my GS is not yet covered. So how should I approach optional? Optional is GS. Cover optional, that is GS.
And then you don't have to worry about at least this part of GS, all the history part, and there are 4 parts, which you can easily skip, and you can use that time in some other essay paper or some other paper.
If after optional you can't understand GS, what is the purpose of this teaching? भाई आप पूरा ऑप्शनल पढ़ने के बाद ये कहो आके साल भर बाद कि GS नहीं समझ में आया, तो फिर तो we should
फिर तो वो टेस्ट ऑफ द टीचर्स भी हो जाएगा.
फिर we should I don't want to say we should.
Yes. Any other question you have?
चलो भाई ठीक है.
So hope you understood whatever we discussed, and online people also. Thank you very much for your patience. Hope to see you shortly on 22nd of April. Right? Take care. God bless you. Thank you.